Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye. Om. Dear friends, from today, for a few months, we will start reading the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, which is the most celebrated text of India. We know that it is the most important, not only celebrated, but also important text of India. So we will study that for the next few months. I am not going to study every shloka of it. I am just going to give a brief idea about what Bhagavad Gita is. And of course, we will go through all the chapters and all that, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and all the yogas and all that. We will see what it is. And why should we read Gita? The first question when we start doing anything is, why should we do that? It is a very, very important question, because when you are sparing your time, every day at a particular time you are sparing some 25 minutes of your life for listening to this Gita. Of course, you will be entertained by listening to so many other episodes. But in Gita, it is not entertainment but instruction, or maybe enlightenment maybe. So we should know why we are reading Gita. The important thing which strikes to me is that now it is a globalized world. We are all living in a globalized world. And the globalized man, the young man, is having so many questions about his own religion, his own culture, his own lifestyle and all that. And when we have so many questions, that is questions like, why are we having so many gods? In a globalized society, somebody comes and says, oh, you are having so many gods, you are worshipping idols, so etc., they will say. And an educated man who is so totally cut off from the religion, an ordinary educated man now, not only an ordinary educated man, but even if you take say for example, a professor in a university, even those people, they are cut off. They are cut off from all types of religious education. If you just go and ask a professor in a university, this is the same question, why you have so many gods? He will be blabbering. He will not be able to give the answer. Or a question like, what is caste? Why is there caste in Indian society? What exactly do our scriptures say? We have absolutely no idea. So if we want to know the answers for our questions, all types of answers for our questions, we have to know Gita. Because Gita is said to be the summary of all important texts of India. So that is one thing which we see about Gita. The first thing is about, at an intellectual level. At an intellectual level, you will be getting all your answers cleared. Of course, for a very, very ignorant man, for a very ignorant reader or an ignorant person, generally what people say is, okay, you read Gita and you will get a lot of punyam. In my childhood, we used to have a small book of Gita in my house. And in that book, there is what is called a Phalashruti. Phalashruti means, at the end of the text, usually they say, if you read this every day, you are going to get this punyam. So there, Phalashruti I used to read with a lot of interest. That is, if you read 10 say for example, 1 chapter a day, you are going to Chandraloka. And if you are reading 2 chapters a day, you will go to a better loka, maybe a Surya Loka. And if you do the entire Parayana of Gita every day, you are going to Shashwata Brahma Loka, etc., etc. And we don't know what those lokas are. And this is at the level of a very, very ignorant person. Who ignorant means a very ordinary person who wants some punyam in his life, who wants to do some good thing. Okay, I am doing Bhagavad Gita Parayanam, I am going to get some punyam. So that is his level. Next level is that intellectual level which I said just now, in which a modern youth is facing so many questions about his own culture. More important than this is how this Gita changes a person's life. That is, living Gita. Living what Lord Krishna says in the Gita, that is most important. Because Gita analyzes human nature. Gita examines all the emotions, all the weaknesses, our own emotions like raga, dvesha, that is our own sense of attachment, our own sense of hatred, all the human emotions it analyzes. And then it tells you what exactly we are. And it tries to drive away all our negative emotions, It tries to tell what is the nature of the human being, It tells what is the nature of the universe. It tells what is the nature of what we call the God or the supreme reality. And it gives such a broad picture. It gives such a big picture of what a human being is and what is his duty in the society. So from that point of view, it gives a very big picture. It gives a very clear picture in which all these questions, they fall into place. For example, you have a question like, oh, there are so many gods, etc. What is the value of this idol worship, etc. All these things, they fall in place. When you have a bigger picture, then all our doubts, they get clarified. All those things, they fall in place. In addition to that, there is a change in our own personality. There is an internal transformation which Gita tries to achieve. That is, Gita tries to give us, or rather it will definitely make us internally transform. That is what is generally called the spiritual growth. And in this spiritual growth, what is the spiritual growth? A human being is supposed to realize his own divine nature. That is ultimately what the Gita is going to say. The human being is not different from the divine. Of course, we are going to see how it is and all that. On the face of it, we don't accept. When you say that a human being is divine, not only human being, but every animal, every living being, not only living being, but all the things which we see in the world, they are essentially divine in nature. If we say that, on the face of it, we may not accept, but closely, as we go reading Gita, then we will understand on what logic, on what basis Gita is going to tell all these things. So, the most important reason why we have to read Gita is to achieve that internal transformation, our own purification of mind, elimination of our own negative feelings and all that. So this is the most important thing. And all this is going to lead to a sort of harmony in life. Harmony means without any conflict. There is absolutely no conflict within yourself. A modern man, not only modern man, but a human being in general, he has so many conflicting emotions within, and all the such conflicts, what is called adhyatmika. Adhyatmika means that which is something which is in oneself. Adhyatma, the meaning of adhyatma is adhi plus atma. Adhyatma means that which is relating to one's own self. That is some tension which is there in me only. So that adhyatma problems, they are resolved, and my relations with the external world, maybe with my friends, with all my associates, with all the people whom I meet, all those associations will be smooth. That is, there is a harmony within and there is a harmony with the external world. So this is the effect of Gita. That is, once we start understanding the Gita and once we start living the Gita. So this is what, in general, Gita is about. Why we should read Gita. And of course, as I said, I may not be able to guarantee punya, but I can certainly guarantee that most of our doubts will be clarified. Most of our doubts about our own culture, our own tradition, and what Vedas contain and what the Upanishads contain, all our doubts, they will be clarified by studying this Gita. So now, coming to what exactly this text is, I was telling you Gita is the most celebrated text or the most important text. So why is it so? How do you say that? Because we see that Hinduism, as we see the Hindu religion or what is called Sanatana Dharma, instead of saying Hindu religion, a better word which is normally used by all our Swamijis is Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma means, Sanatana does not mean ancient. Sanatana means something which is eternal, which is eternally applicable, which is universally applicable to all the people all over the world, anywhere in the world. So that is what is Sanatana Dharma. So this Sanatana Dharma is something which is not started by a particular individual at a particular point of time. If we see religions, normally religion, what happens? What do we see in a religion? Religion is something which is started by a particular person who has some particular vision of God, who had some communication with the God, maybe directly or through or indirectly. So he receives some communication from God. He says, yes, this is the message of God, and all of us have to obey. So he convinces some people, and then those people convince some other people, and those some other people convince some other people, and gradually the religion grows. So that is what a religion is. So that means you are believing in a person, what a person particularly says. So that is what is religion. But in the case of the Sanatana Dharma, it is not like that. Sanatana Dharma, there are hundreds of sages, hundreds of rishis who meditated on what exactly is the nature of this universe, what exactly is human nature, what is my nature, and how am I connected to this external world. And I am seeing what is called this external world. Is there some creator for this thing? If at all there has to be a creator, what should be or what might be the nature of that creator? So in a very, very rational manner, they investigate. It is actually called analysis or investigation. For example, if you go to a Upanishad called Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a particular sage. That sage's name is Varuna. And Varuna's son's name is Bhrigu. So this son, he goes to his father. Father is a very well-read man, he is a wise man, he is a sage, he is a rishi, he knows what is that supreme reality. So he goes and asks his father, oh my dear, oh dad, tell me what is that supreme reality. And the dad, he cannot tell directly because this is something which one has to think for himself. He can only give a broad guideline. In this particular framework, you please think. So what does he say? He says, you are having a particular body-mind complex. You are having the body, a physical body. You are having what is called the energy, that is prana inside. And you are also having the 5 sense organs. You are also having a mind. Annam, pranam, chakshus, shrotram, mano, vachamiti, he says. And he says, tapasa brahma vijignyasasva. And if you want to know the ultimate reality or ultimate truth, you have to know only by contemplation. You have to know by not simply by japam, not doing by japam of a mantra. It is not, contemplation does not mean japam of a mantra. Contemplation means scientifically or rationally investigating, analyzing what is my nature. So this approach of Sanatana Dharma is to rationally investigate. And this is done not by one man, it is done by hundreds of sages. So that is the reason why we have got so many books. And if you go to Vedas, the Vedas, you find so many mantras by so many rishis. For every mantra you say so and so rishi is the person who revealed this mantra. So and so rishi revealed this particular mantra. And we know that the most famous mantra, that is Gayatri mantra, was revealed by sage Vishwamitra. So we know that there are so many sages. So that is why this Hinduism is something, or rather Sanatana Dharma is not a sort of belief system. It is something which is a revelation by so many people. And you have got several texts, not one text. There are so many texts. Because if you go to some bookstall, for instance, if you go to a bookstall which is selling our books relating to, say, Sanatana Dharma, then you will find hundreds of books. You will find Vedas in one corner. And of course, as part of the Vedas, you find the Upanishads in another corner. And maybe you find Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc., etc. in some other corner. You will find various other Puranas like Shiva Purana, Vishnu Purana, Devi Purana, Devi Bhagavatam, etc., etc. in some other corner. Hundreds and hundreds of books you find there. And all are important. All seem to be important. Somebody picks up Ramayana. Okay, you also learn something from Ramayana. You pick up some other Agni Purana. You also pick up something from Agni Purana. So you find so many things. So we have to know what exactly is the place of Gita in the midst of all these things. Why do we say that Gita is very, very important? And so we have to know why it is. So if we see our own text, maybe I'll take 1 or 2 episodes in order to give a sort of introduction. Because if the introduction is clear, then everything falls in place. If the introduction is not clear, if I directly go into the text, maybe you will still be wondering what is the place of Gita in the entire corpus of Vedic literature. Because this whole mass of Vedic literature is so much that unless we know what is its place, we will not be able to appreciate it. So I will just give a brief picture about what exactly is this whole corpus of literature which we have. For example, if we see, we can classify them into 2 levels. That is the most primary text, that is at the very, very primary level. The most primary text we can call some of the books as primary texts. And at a secondary level, we can call them the secondary texts. And in our Sanatana Dharma, the most primary texts are the Vedas. We know that the Vedas, they were written means they were revealed. Of course, the very, very orthodox people say that they were not composed by human beings. It is directly a revelation from God. But many modern people, they say that okay, many rishis, they sat in contemplation, and in their state of contemplation, they arrived at this particular truth. For example, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat, it tells a particular truth. Or some other statement like Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, it tells a particular truth. That is, God, what we call God, is not a person, it is of the nature of consciousness. So that is what it says. Oh, it is a sort of revelation. It is a sort of formula which is revealed by that particular sage. So hundreds of such people are there, hundreds of such revelations are there. These are the original texts which we call the Vedas. When the most critically minded people accept that Rig Veda is the oldest record of mankind. There is no other book which is older than Rig Veda. So like that, this Rig Veda is there, and the other three Vedas are there, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda are there. And of course, when we talk about Upanishad, Upanishad again is part of the Veda only. Vedas, there are several divisions within the Veda. That is, there is a division which is dealing with basically some rituals and mantras and things like that. There is some other division in which talk about what we call meditations. Nowadays, we are also familiar with the guided meditation. We are very, very familiar with the word guided meditation. That is, you go to some satsang, some Swamiji will be telling, okay, you concentrate on your body, you just see what your body consists of. Your body consists of, there is what is called a sthula sharira, or the gross body, and again there is what is called a prana level. So like that, they will tell you different ways as to how to contemplate. So this contemplation or meditation is one level in the same Vedas. And at the final level, at the end of these Vedas, there are certain revelations which I was just speaking about. So these are called Upanishads. Upanishads, they talk about the nature of man, the nature of the universe, the nature of the supreme reality. So these are the philosophical speculations which we find in the Vedas. So Vedas, the end portions of the Veda, it is called Vedanta. Veda, end. In Sanskrit, the word for end is Anta. Vedas, Anta. Anta is end. That is, Vedanta is it is otherwise called Upanishad. It is, of course, we know with this word Vedanta, we are very familiar with this word. That is the end portions of the Veda, which deal with the philosophical revelations. So that is what we see. So these are the primary texts. Then there are the secondary texts. The Vedas, they were very, very old texts written in slightly archaic style. And the Vedas are also rather difficult to read. They were not within the reach of a common man. So naturally, some other sages, are the same sages who revealed these mantras, they also wrote some other secondary texts for the sake of common man. For example, books like Ramayana, Bharatam, Bhagavatam, these are the books which were written for the common man. That is, there is a formula, in fact, Itihasa Puranabhyam Vedam Samupabrumhayet. That is, the message which is there mentioned in the Vedas, or rather the dharma which is mentioned in the Vedas, that has to be communicated to the modern man or to the common man through the medium of what is called Itihasa and Purana. Of course, we are aware of these two words called Itihasa and Purana. There is a slight distinction between these two words. Itihasa relates to a particular story, for example, the story of Rama, the story of Pandavas. Rama is a historical character. Pandavas again are historical characters. So this is Itihasa is something which is dealing with the story of some historical characters. Maybe sometimes they may glorify it, sometimes there is some sort of supernatural element. In Ramayana, of course, we will see that Dasharatha performs a yajna, and in that yajna some yajna purusha comes, and then Rama is said to be an avatara, etc., etc. So Itihasa is a text which talks about a historical personality in a slightly idealized manner. And same is the case with Mahabharata. In Mahabharata also we see this Mahabharata, these Pandavas and Kauravas and Lord Krishna, they are all real personalities who lived in a particular place, and we know all those places also even now. Historically we have all these places. So the Itihasa is of that type. Then Purana is a slightly different type. Purana, it deals with certain mythological stories. For example, Vishnu. Vishnu is not a person. Shiva is not a person. So some of the modern fiction writers, they try to portray Shiva as somebody, some sort of tribal hero who lived somewhere in the Himalayas. There are some such books like that, some trilogy and things like that, but that is not the way in which Purana has to be understood. Purana is something which is telling certain philosophical concepts in a symbolic manner. What is told in the Upanishads or in the Vedas in a symbolic manner, in the manner of a philosophical message, they are conveyed in the form of a story, they are conveyed in the form of a symbolism or an allegory in the Puranas. So that is what is the Purana style. So when we look at Ganesha, Ganesha is a symbol. When we look at Vishnu, Vishnu is a symbol. When we look at Shiva, Shiva is a symbol. So that is how we have to understand. So these are the secondary texts. So we will just see how this Gita fits in and where Gita fits in the whole corpus of this Vedic literature. We will continue tomorrow. Harihi Om Tat Sat.